Topping today's news, the Prime Minister, Education Minister, and Works Minister, they tour the public schools as the new school year approaches. Police are left to investigate a number of shootings from the weekend. The search is still on for a missing airplane and its pilot since Saturday. Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Jarino Saunders. This is your JCN Evening News. It is a pleasure to have you join us. With the opening of the new school year just 1 week away, Prime Minister Philip Davis, along with the Ministers of Education, Glenys Hannah Martin, and Works and Utilities, Mr. Alfred Sears, toured public schools here on New Providence on Sunday. Schools that are undergoing extensive structural renovations include Government High School, R.M. Bailey, T.A. Thompson, and Woodcock Primary School. Prime Minister Davis says he is pleased with the progress being made thus far.
Let me lend my voice to that and say that I share in the pleasure of the minister of what she's seeing here today and pleased with the work that's being carried out by the contractors that were chosen. You can see that they are not only just doing a good job, but they're going above the call of duty, working. Look, today is Sunday, and look at the number of persons who are working. And not only to think about what it's doing to the economy. All these young men you see on these jobs, on all of the sites you see, what do you think? That's money in their pocket, that's going to be spent. And what is more? You know, sometimes what we deem to be a challenge turns out to be an opportunity.
Although some works on the campuses are still ongoing, Minister Hannah Martin declares that works will not delay the August 28th opening date.
Every school, students and schools throughout this nation will be in school. Now, if there's some little tweaking or something that will happen after hours, that's fine. But the bulk, the major work will be completed. And I don't anticipate there will be much, if anything, other than some minor, which will not disrupt anything. So the issue is, and I want to clarify this because this thing, you can be finished. Remember now, we're not just changing doorknobs. We are redeveloping the school plant. Government High, when I saw it, I was shocked that is where our young people were going. And we have completely, and you saw it with your own two eyes, completely redeveloped that school. R.M. Bailey is under redevelopment. As we move to the next repair period, we're going to redevelop more. We are redeveloping. Woodcock Primary, one of the oldest schools, that is major redevelopment. So to answer your question, we anticipate and expect and are confident that on the 28th, students will be in the classroom nationwide.
Now, there have been concerns put forward by Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson, who says schools seem to be opening earlier and earlier each year. Minister Hannah Martin, in her response, says that decision is something that the Ministry of Education officials will have to revisit.
The issue that she raises is one that we have been meditating on also, and we've met and discussed it. And next year, we have determined that the school will, that the summer months will be for summer vacation, and in the early first week in September, we will resume school. We're doing that because end of August brings the end of the summer, more or less, and then it gives you a sense of renewal, and hopefully it's cooler. And so this is an issue that we have determined will be. The next year, we had published the 19th of August for school reopening, and we've agreed that date is not reasonable, and so we will seek to open school at a later time in the first days of September.
That was Minister of Education Glenys Hannah Martin. Both the Prime Minister and Minister Sears defended the contractor Anthony Roca of A&M Construction, saying a roof did not collapse, but instead its trusses did. Minister Sears, during a tour of schools under repair here in the capital on Sunday, when asked to respond to a roof collapse, he said the following.
No, that didn't happen? No, a roof did not collapse. Some trusses.
You could see.
Some of the trusses collapsed because the bracing was removed. The contractor who is here and can speak to it is a contractor who is well known to the Ministry of Works and has done exceptional and extraordinary work. So the ministry has confidence in the contractor. The contractor has assumed responsibility and also to ensure that there are no losses from the collapse of the trusses to the Bahamian government.
Now, the Ministry of Works statement also released some information that was not intended for the public's knowledge. That statement was recalled and a new statement issued. However, Prime Minister Davis acknowledged that the contractor had no written contract, nor did he have risk and liability insurance, which was information in that statement. Prime Minister Davis also lambasted print media.
He had a contract. The question is whether there's a written contract or an oral contract. He, in fact, had a contract. It was to be reduced to writing. And in fact, the insurance, I understand that the contractor decided that he will self-insure until all of the dots and the I's are being crossed, which is not unacceptable. You could reinsure it. You could self-insure yourself. He takes the risk, which he's done. What sometimes troubles me with the print media, and I expect it from social media, because there are many authors and journalists engage in the social media press. But responsible journalism, I think, requires that you understand the facts and don't turn an incident into a controversy. Examine the incident to determine whether it should be controversial. The first thing you talk about is a roof. So the whole country is believing that some roof, shingle and complete, somehow collapsed. And it was constructed by some friends of the Progressive Party, some friends who got a contract, right? And he was incompetent. It is so far from the truth. But that's the impression that the print media gave.
Both the Prime Minister, Philip Davis, and Minister Sears expressing confidence in Mr. Roker, who, in the presence of reporters and government officials, took full responsibility for the incident, adding that he wants the public to know that he has over 4 decades in contractual building and he has built for both governments. Minister Sears says he is awaiting a briefing on deliberations between the contractor and the Ministry of Works. He expects to have that outcome in a meeting in the course of this week. Minister of Education Glenys Hannah Martin dismissing rumors that her ministry will be adding LGBTQI plus education into the public schools curriculum. Hannah Martin says they are merely erroneous distractions.
But the assertions that are made are untrue. We have a curriculum, and the curriculum is focusing on literacy, numeracy, helping our young people to be articulate, to help them have the grounding in the subject matter. We have a new history text. These are things we celebrate. The distractions and the erroneous distractions are not helpful. They're not helpful.
Minister Hannah Martin goes on to question the source of the allegations.
This thing, you know what's amazing about this? Someone who say they're from Grand Bahama, a voice, female voice, said that we're introducing LGBT in the curriculum and that we're sneaking it in, and then we can bring the books. Nameless, faceless, anonymous person, voice. That many Bahamian people's in a frenzy. We have to query how it is that something like that should incite us to these types of extremes, unverified, unsupported, and untrue.
Meantime, the Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson believes it is time for the government to tackle the issue of transgender education head on. She notes that it is important to bring children up to speed with the world that surrounds them, but at the same time not forcing an agenda on them. As the prorogation of the Parliament, which is potentially making way for a new government agenda, while being probed by reporters on Sunday, Prime Minister Philip Davis was asked whether or not a cabinet shuffle is on the horizon. He responded by saying cabinet ministers are discussing a new way forward for the Davis administration.
Cabinet is an institution that carries a collective responsibility. Where a person is in that cabinet does not take away from that. Does not take away from that. So that we have collective responsibility. We are just near the halfway. I call this my halfway point before we move into what I call election mode. And we are thinking of what we are talking together as ministers to determine how best each one of us may better serve the new way forward.
This comes on the heels of the announcement made last week that Cynthia Mother Pratt will be sworn in as the new Governor General of the Bahamas. As for any other changes, we will have to wait and see. Talks have been going since February 2022 of a forensic audit of the Disaster Reconstruction Authority due to evidence of mismanagement and instances of conflict of interest under the Minnis administration. Well, that audit has finally been completed and submitted to the police. This according to DRA Chairman Alex Storr.
We had two audits ongoing, a forensic audit as well as a financial audit. We have received both of those. The forensic audit, we have looked over it and we have turned that over to the police who are now investigating. There were things that we saw in there that made us uncomfortable, and we thought it was best to put it in the hands of the police instead of us doing investigations. Let the police determine and made the rocks fall where they may.
The audit has been in the hands of the police for the last 3 to 4 months, according to Mr. Storr, who noted that the police were about to question people of interest in their investigation. With regards to the DRA seizing items that were donated, Chairman Storr gave an update on what they have recovered as well as what is still missing.
Vehicles, some building material and other stuff that were donated or bought for use by the authority. We recovered some of the items. As you know, it was highly publicized. There are still, from that list of items, outstanding items, and so we're actively pursuing and finding out. We were able to locate some 2 forklifts and other equipment about a month ago in a warehouse in Cooperstown, and so we're still actively looking, trying to locate these materials, and as we find them, we take them back.
Mr. Storr says the public has been asked to give the DRA any information on the missing items, noting that they have to go out and find them. In September last year, Abaco pastor and broadcaster Silbert Mills said he was pained and shamed when officers entered his church and seized items owned by the DRA. Mr. Mills proclaimed that he never stole the items and that they were in the church for storage purposes. And finally, in this segment, the murder count here in the country moving up a notch as police investigate the country's latest homicide, which unfolded sometime around 8:30 p.m. on Saturday. A 34-year-old male resident of Anna's Way off Cowpen Road is the latest victim of homicide here in the capital. Head of the Criminal Investigations Department, Chief Superintendent Michael Johnson, spoke with members of the press on Saturday evening.
Sometime shortly after 8 p.m., police received reports of a male that was shot in the area of Anna's Close off of Cowpen Road. Police responded and discovered the lifeless body of a male. He was slumped over in the driver's seat of a white Mitsubishi vehicle with wounds that are consistent with gunshots. The information that we received as far as that the deceased was just about to leave his residence when he was approached by a lone gunman who opened fire on him. Again, like always, we appeal to members of this community and the public at large who may have any information in relation to this latest homicide to please contact CID at 502-9975 or our crime tipsers line.
When questioned on if the latest murder victim is known to the police, Chief Superintendent Johnson said the following.
Well, that is an inquiry that we would have to look into. It's early in the investigation, and I would not speculate until we speak to some other persons and progress in this investigation. Now officers are on the ground. We're speaking to persons in this area. We're doing it covertly. As you're aware that persons don't really want to be seen like that speaking with the officers, so we're speaking to them. And we're looking for, like you said, cameras and any other thing that could assist to advance this investigation.
While police did not release the identity of the country's latest homicide victim, Jcn's news sources identified the man as Edron Knowles. Police are appealing to members of the public who may have any information that can assist them in their investigation to call 911, 919, or the Criminal Investigations Department, that's CID, or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS, 328-8477. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back after these commercials.